Thank you for joining us today for our first educational webinar by Dermalux LED. This is the first webinar that we've ever held where we're basically passing over to yourselves. So you've sent us in some questions. We've combined this with some frequently asked questions that we've had over the years. Really today is about, we want to try and cover the technical, the clinical and the commercial aspects of Dermalux LED systems and how really this will benefit you in your practices. Really try and cover off any sort of concerns that you may have. Firstly, I'd like to introduce myself. So some of you may already know me. My name is Dale Needham. I'm the Managing Director of Dermalux LED, which is a brand of aesthetic technology. I'm very proud to be in this position. Business has gone through some enormous changes over the years, and really I'm proud to be basically at the forefront of the business that's globally recognized for LED technology, and more so basically for other medical devices that others in the LED market may not be familiar with. You may have seen our recent announcement regarding the C19 ventilator, which we picked up on behalf of basically trying to react for the COVID-19 ventilator call by the British government. We're proud to be taking that further forward on a global position and actually really showing everybody really what we're really about. We're not just about LED, we are a technology business. Leigh, please would you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Dale. So I'm the Southern Sales Manager here at Dermalux. I am a qualified therapist and esthetician, and I spent my earlier years of my career working in retail, mainstream beauty salons, and then progressing onto more medical clinical environments. I've spent the last 10 years working for global skincare brands in various parts of Europe, and I'm really excited to now be part of the Dermalux LED team.
Thanks for that, Leigh. That's great. So, and lastly today, basically, we've got Louise Taylor with us. Louise is co-founder and our sales director. Louise, would you just like to say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi Dale. Yeah, thanks everyone. Yeah, I'm Louise Taylor. I'm one of the co-founders of the Dermalux brand. I'm going to introduce a little bit about Dermalux in a second. I look after the sales, but also the international sort of aspect of the business as well. So before we go into the questions, I just wanted to give you a brief overview about Dermalux for those of you who are not so familiar with us. So, of course, LED phototherapy is not a new treatment, but it's been really interesting for us to see the growing popularity and the demand for this technology since we started back in 2012. You know, today there's a real range of LED devices, both for professional and home use, you know, and it can be a real challenge knowing how to select the best device for your business. Some of you will already have the Dermalux systems, but hopefully with the questions that we're going to answer today, we're going to help to be able to demystify some of this for you. So as a company, we specialise in innovative and energy-based technologies. So Dermalux is our key brand, but during lockdown, we also developed the C19 ventilator for COVID. So we have an in-house team that has extensive technical and clinical knowledge, which has enabled us to design and develop and manufacture the cutting-edge technology for our devices. So today, Dermalux is available in over 30 countries worldwide. And we have a network of international partners, clients and distributors across the globe who helped us to establish Dermalux as a world-leading and trusted brand for LED phototherapy. You know, we manufacture in the UK, so from the outset our aim was really to create a British brand that signified quality, efficacy and safety, and I think we're proud to have been able to achieve and maintain this. So we have our manufacturing base in Warrington in Cheshire, and you're all welcome to come and visit us and see how the Dermalux systems are made when we get a chance. We're an accredited medical device manufacturer, so essentially this governs everything we do to ensure that we're compliant with medical regulations. From a purchaser point of view, so from your point of view, it demonstrates the commitment or our commitment to the safety and quality of our systems that we manufacture. Our technology is proprietary to us, so it's not off the shelf, so no other company in the world has our LEDs. These have been designed to our recipe, as it were, and Dale is going to discuss this in more detail with you later. But we've invested heavily in the innovation of our technology to ensure it's superior to any other device in the market. So we're going to have a look at what we can treat and what benefits does it offer. So the specification of the device will really determine what indications we can treat, and this is specified by the wavelength, and how quickly we can treat them, and that's indicated by the power. And then also the application. So is this a device for the face, or is it for the face and the body as well? So what can we treat with LED phototherapy? So we're going to have a look at what we can treat and the benefits that this actual treatment offers as well. So the specification of the device that you have, and again, some of you will have the Dermalux system, will determine the indications that you can treat, and this is specified by the wavelength, but also how quickly we can treat them, and this is indicated by the power. And then we also have to look at the application. So is this a treatment that we can offer just for the face, or is it for the face and body? So if we scan down the list and we ask ourselves, so can I treat all of these conditions with the treatments and devices I already have in my clinic? So the immediate answer will probably be yes, but in reality, if you don't have an LED device already, the answer is probably no. So many of these conditions are inflammatory. So if we look at things like acne, rosacea, redness, pigmentation, and many aesthetic treatments that we offer are based on creating a controlled trauma to trigger an inflammatory response, which is fine, but we might use heat, high energy chemicals, or mechanical trauma. And some of these are not always appropriate for certain conditions or indications, and especially in the early stages of treatment. So LED doesn't replace these other treatments that we're offering, but it offers a unique and complementary benefit as part of an overall treatment program. So essentially, it's a tool that fills a gap. And then we're just going to have a look at some results of from Dermalux that can be achieved if we're offering a device with the right technical specification. So now I'm going to hand over to Leigh, who's going to answer the question, what are the benefits of combining LED with other treatments?
Thank you, Louise. So as an esthetician myself, I'm a huge fan of combination therapy. And here at Dermalux, we're also a fan, primarily because you can add LED into pretty much any other professional service that you're likely to be offering within your business. Treatments such as chemical peels, laser, IPL, injectables, microdermabrasion, skin needling, even your more traditional hands-on facials can all be enhanced by adding LED into that treatment. Now, if you think about your typical aesthetic treatments, we're using, as Louise said, some form of controlled mild trauma to stimulate an inflammatory response. And with that, we're increasing the hemoglobin or the blood flow within that area, which is absolutely perfect for LED because light is actually attracted to blood. So you'll get a better absorption of LED, and ultimately that will stimulate and supercharge your client's skin cells to really enhance and give them a much better, much quicker result. We also know with aesthetic treatments that preparation really is key. So you can pre-treat your clients by using LED, and that will minimize the risk of any adverse responses like post-treatment breakout, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, even scarring and bacterial infection. Equally, you can treat after to really help speed up that healing process and minimize any downtime that your clients may likely experience. So LED truly is essential for optimum skin health used in conjunction with other treatments. So Dale, are more wavelengths and colours better in LED?
We get this quite a bit actually, where Unfortunately, there's a series of different LED devices on the market where really you've got 3 core wavelengths that you really want to be looking for: 415, 633, and 830. Unfortunately, general user buying an LED device who's not informed, there are devices out there where they offer wavelengths, basically emit like a green light or a yellow light. Even if you buy a device that is emitting red, blue, or the infrared, it's the actual wavelength that's the key piece for this. So the most clinically proven wavelengths that are available on the market are 415, 633, and 830. If you take a look at, say, a standard device in the marketplace that's offering a single LED that's got 3 or 4 colours inside of it, so RGBY, RGBW, these are typically a standard LED that any LED manufacturer would buy from what's known as a data sheet. So in this, it's a standard LED that's not been designed for application, but is actually a product has been designed and they've chosen the LED to try and work for the application. That's important in our area because what we have specialised the business around is actually having specific wavelength of LEDs. They're actually custom designed to work for the targeted emission of the cell absorption. So by doing that, we've not only just chosen the right wavelength, we've actually then tailored the spectrum of the wavelength. So how broad is the emission? So in photonic speak, basically what is the full width half max? And this is to do with how broad. So if you've ever seen a photonic measurement of a light emission, you'll see that basically it looks like a waveform like this. The narrower that is, and the optical power that's being emitted means that basically you've got more targeted optical power being emitted to the true absorption point of the skin cell. Typically, where things can get lost in this marketplace is that optical powers of, say, one wavelength versus another can be reported as the same, but when you measure it photonically, they can be completely different. So an example is if an LED was 415, stated it had the same optical power, but had a very broad optical emission, that would mean that the peak height intensity was lower, but the way in which the data is reported in this marketplace would actually state that basically it's the same optical power, so how many joules per centimetre square. Really, you want to dig right down beyond what's actually put into the marketed materials and actually look for true height, very narrow full width half max, and look for what's known as basically the peak tolerance. So in this typical LED in the marketplace would then be anywhere between plus or minus 5 to 10 nanometers. We actually pride ourselves on the fact that our wavelengths are plus or minus 2. So this means that any device throughout the world, whether a client goes to have a treatment in London, Australia, right through into the likes of Europe, the treatment is the same across every device that would be used. So that's how we've built the reputation of Dermalux, is by being able to deliver a reliable treatment from a reputable brand. The other thing to note is that basically there's no real scientific evidence to support the likes of 520 nanometers in the green and 590 nanometers in the yellow in terms of actually any clinical evidence. It's actually more evidence that basically these wavelengths are blocked by the blood. And there's effectively, because of that, there's limited clinical data to support any therapeutic effects. Another common question we get is, why is the wavelength the most important parameter for the LED treatment? So I've already touched on this briefly, but in the clinical evidence that we've built for our devices, it's actually very well documented that the absorption point of the skin cell is very specific. Now, because of this, basically what you need to do is you need to tailor your wavelengths to be as specific to match the requirements of the skin cell. If the skin cell's asking for 415 and we're missing 410, we're focusing all of our energy into a point where the cell isn't benefiting from it, and you're actually getting a lower absorption point from effectively the short wavelength boundary of the emission. So it's very important that the two are aligned, and that will come down to the quality of the product and the quality of the manufacturer. And typically, the best way to see that as a consumer is, what is the price of the device? You pay for the technology that you have in the unit, really. The other question that we get asked a lot is basically, is the number of LEDs in a device important? Really, there's no easy answer for this one. It depends on what the intent of the device was at the point in basically which the product was being developed. So if you take, say like our Triwave MD, there's a lot of LEDs in that. In fact, there's 120 of each colour per circuit board, which is per pod, and there's multiple pods per head. So in that, we put a lot of LEDs in. Now, you have, at a design point, you have the option of basically putting low power, mid power, or high power LEDs in. And we've put high power LEDs into our device, which has basically made us the world leading optical device of that product type, which is why we can offer the likes of doing PDT with the unit. Really, what can happen in this is basically manufacturers will state that basically they have less LEDs, but they're very much high power. It's not just about the number of LEDs, it's about how the product is being applied in practice. So how well is the LED light being uniformly distributed across the target area of the skin? How well is the LED being stabilized? So if it is a high power LED, have they got the correct cooling in place? So are there enough heat sinks? Is it water cooled? Are there any ceramic technologies? Have you got basically air blowing across the heat sinks? How well has the product been constructed? Is the heat being trapped on the inside of it? Is it being allowed to convect away from the unit? There's all these different parameters that you need to really consider with the device. The same as buying any other device that you get on the market. Buy the product of what works for yourself, but also make sure that the product is going to withstand for what you're going to be doing with it. For me, in principle, if I was going buying, say, any device and it was very flimsy and it wasn't very well constructed, you'd instantly doubt what the mechanical durability is of the device. Same being with a lot of the LED devices you see in the market. Just because something is very rigid doesn't mean that it's actually been very well designed on the inside. So there's a lot that you need to basically try and consider when buying your device. For me, more is better. You have a better chance of having greater optical uniformity. But you would then basically need to then start looking at your LED considerations, which is wavelength, and then how you're actually applying the device. There are a lot of devices out there where they say that being closer to the skin means you need less LEDs. The counter to that is the light isn't as well optically delivered optically. In terms of basically, it's not a uniform distribution of light. So really start to consider about how you're going to use this product and how you'd use it in practice. And that's why you'll find with every Dermalux device, we've always said that we want it remote from the patient. So the idea is that you can allow for the light to uniformly blend across the targeted area. So a question for yourself, Leigh. What topical products can you apply directly with LED treatment?
Great question. So what you want to look for optimum results of your topical product in conjunction with LED is something that's readily and easily absorbed into the skin. So your water-based serums work very well, things like hyaluronic acid, stem cell hydrating serums, as well as your low viscosity gels. What you want to avoid is anything too thick in consistency. Things like creams, oils, charcoal masks that are very on trend and popular at the moment. They will all create a barrier on your skin and diminish your client's results. And another question that I get asked all the time is about sheet masks and gel masks. Can they be used directly underneath the LED? And I know we did some studies and trials ourselves. And we found out that actually by using such masks like that, you're actually blocking anything between 8 and 12% of that light penetrating the skin. So we would advise to avoid products like that immediately under, but of course you can use them pre and post treatment. It's also likely that your clients are on quite a savvy home care routine, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want for that 360-degree approach. But we need to be mindful of certain actives. So things like vitamin A, vitamin C, they need to be used with caution with LED. And your more actives, your retinols, alpha hydroxy acids, beta hydroxy acids, we suggest avoiding those directly under the light. But again, you can pre-treat, so you can offer your client a chemical exfoliation, maybe with a glycolic cleanser or a glycolic exfoliator, to give optimum results of your light therapy session. We also want to avoid any self-neutralizing peels, so things like TCA, we wouldn't use LED immediately in combination with that treatment. But again, pre-treating, you'll minimize the risk of any adverse effects, any post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, post-treatment breakout, and of course using post-treatment to again help aid with that wound healing process. And best practice, of course, in clinic, we'd always say to follow up with your topical UVA, UVB, broad spectrum SPF. So something that I get asked all the time, Dale, every day, Why can't we see near infrared?
Okay, no, we do get asked this a lot. So infrared, it depends on the manufacturer as to whether you can see the infrared or not. And the reason I say that is it comes down to the quality of the LED that's being used in the device, which is meant to be emitting infrared light. Now, earlier I spoke about having a very narrow full-width half max, which is true across all of our wavelengths that we use in our device. Now, because of that, that basically means that if you're emitting a true infrared at 830 like we are, with a very narrow full-width half max, that means that even at the short wavelength boundary, so you go back to this distribution of the curve again, because it's so narrow, even on the tail end of the emission, it's not within the visible spectrum, so you won't actually see the LED light emitting light. Now, in some instances, you can actually see a very small proportion of red light, which is effectively the optical energy that's available in that emission as it's starting to build up its waveform that you can see as red light, because that is visible. Most commonly across our LED devices and other reputable manufacturers, 830 nanometers is not visible. And that's just down to basic physics of effectively the light spectrum.
So just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it's not effective. And I think many people, because they can't see it, they either forget about it or they underestimate just how powerful near infrared is. Now, near infrared is actually our deepest wavelength, working on giving more advanced benefits, therefore successfully treating your more advanced skincare concerns, things like psoriasis, dermatitis, eczema, will all get fantastic benefits from this. We actually name it the wound healing wavelength for that reason. It's incredibly calming and soothing, perfect for your red, your rosacea skins, your hypersensitive skins, post-reaction, great at stimulating vascular repair. So again, brilliant for your rosacea. Incredibly healing, which is why it works so well with those compromised skins. And it's also known to suppress the tyrosinase enzyme, which we know helps contribute to the formation of pigmentation. So if your client's coming in to see you with pigmentation concerns, or even as a practitioner, if you're concerned with potentially post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, near infrared really is a must in your protocols.
So just to add to that, Leigh touched on something about the infrared light being very powerful. Because of new standards surrounding medical devices that come into market, there is actually an applicable standard for manufacturers to state the optical radiation that's being emitted from the device. Now, you'll notice across our devices that we have a yellow warning label on there, which shows a risk group classification and the overall amount of power that's being delivered over the length of the treatment. So if you take a look at any LED device in the market, this labeling should be clearly marked around the aperture of where the LED light is being emitted, and that acts as an indication as to effectively the overall power that's being emitted from the device. It's easy to get lost with the numbers when looking at marketing literature, but we've now got good rules in place, good governance around the actual device and how a manufacturer is to state its figures. And I would recommend that when buying an LED device, definitely to take a look at that.
So Louise, how can LED be integrated into your business to increase profits?
Great question, actually. And of course, the LED treatment has so many positive clinical benefits. But, when we're investing in technology, we have to look at the commercial aspects as well. So due to the non-invasive and versatile nature of the LED phototherapy treatment, there are really so many ways that it can be integrated. It's a fantastic treatment, to extend the range of indications that we can treat, to upgrade existing treatments that we're already offering in the clinic, and also to transform the treatment menu, so packaging it together. So we have our activate, boost and combine sort of protocols. So this is looking at the sort of the LED treatment as a standalone, but also as a combination treatment as well. And again, this will really be determined by the device that you invest in, because depending on the power and the specification will determine whether we can offer standalone results or not. So the Activate programme is an intense course of up to 12 sessions, 1 to 3 times a week, so we can really supercharge ourselves for very targeted improvement and fast results, which of course is what our clients are looking for. The booster sessions are there as single sessions for maintenance that can be taken in between other treatments, or as a shorter course just to maintain the results in between sort of longer treatment courses. And then our combination or a combined programme, as we mentioned, so LED can really be combined with any other treatment to enhance and accelerate sort of overall treatment results as part of an overall sort of programme. So if we look at how it can transform the treatment menu, so we've just got a little diagram here. So, really a wide range of options, as we said. So sort of looking down, standalone combination sort of treatments. We can create signature treatments. So that could be, things like exfoliation. So it works very well where treatments exfoliate the skin first to remove all the dead cells and the debris from the surface and allow sort of optimum penetration of the light. And then great with sort of lifting and firming treatments and then adding the light at the end. It's a great express treatment, and I think sort of looking how it can fit in. We're going to have a look at this sort of no contact campaign that we're launching as well. So the no touch treatment. But another sort of area that we were sort of developing and has become quite popular, particularly overseas, is this idea of a light pod or a light lounge. So we can turn a small and new space into a light pod with a single, the compact, the Trio MD, and a single chair, through to a sort of an open space where we can create a light lounge. And again, a very popular concept sort of to promote light therapy as an ongoing sort of skin health protocol. But commercially, of course, like we said, remember this is a treatment that on average 95% of your client base will be able to have on an ongoing basis. There's very minimal contraindications to this. It has a very high safety profile, so really something that can be integrated in a multitude of ways. So with Dermalux, there are no consumables, there's no ongoing costs and minimal maintenance. The cost of delivering the treatment is literally the electricity, so it's pence. So it really is going to be one of the highest profit treatments that you can offer. Combine it with your sort of popular skincare treatments and you could more than double the profit per treatment as well. So again, just looking at the profitability of something with a treatment where we're not really doing so much, we don't really have to sort of have too much interaction with it, but it will really sort of increase those profits. If we look at the Flex MD, so our new Flex MD, for example, will pay for itself in around 7 treatment courses, which is nothing. We all have 7 clients that would benefit from this treatment, but going right through up to the return on investment for the Tri-Wave MD, less than 40 courses that we would need to promote, and that will cover the cost of the Tri-Wave MD. And again, I think if we look at how many clients that that we have, really we should be able, and a treatment for everybody, really we should be able to find those clients that are going to help to cover the cost of that. Okay, so now I'm going to hand over to Leigh to talk about how is LED a safe treatment to offer under the new COVID guidelines?
So this is a conversation that I seem to be having every day, dozens of times a day at the moment. And the answer, Louise, is yes, absolutely. If you think about all of our devices, they can all be offered to your clients, zero contact, hands-free, and controlled from social distance. So I've been talking to people who already have clients waiting to come in for their LED, and they're advising that their clients prep their skin at home, so they will cleanse, exfoliate, and come into clinic bare skin. They can position themselves underneath the canopy, and then again, with all of our systems, they can all be maneuvered from a social distance, and we as a practitioner can select the correct protocol for your clients. Equally, I've got some people that want it to be a little bit more personable still, and they're going to consult with their clients either side of the treatment couch, again 2 meters apart, and recommend the best cleanser for their client that day, the best exfoliator for their client that day, and actually invite them to cleanse their skin themselves. All of our systems are easily cleaned and sanitized, so it's a very hygienic treatment. So I do truly believe it's going to be an essential part of the new normal when we're back in business. and especially great for your nervous clients that even when we can, aren't quite ready for hands-on contact. And you touched upon it earlier, we're just about to launch a consumer marketing campaign for you to promote that within your business and on your websites and social medias. So I think it's going to be fantastic. So with all of this in mind, Dale, what really should you be looking for when purchasing an LED device?
So that's a great question. What to consider when buying an LED device? So the first thing I would always say is, where does it come from? So we're proud that we're a British manufacturer. You'd be amazed how many people would think that Dermalux is a brand that we just distribute. Here at Aesthetic Technology, basically, we do everything from concept design, product development, right through to R&D product trials, all the way through to production and distribute from the full site. You are welcome to come to site anytime you want. You can see your product being made if you time it right. There's everything that we have here on site. And in addition to that, we've got a full educational suite where if you ever want to come for additional training or if you want some support, we actually run events here from site. So you'll be able to see everything that we do and actually meet the full team. The other thing really basically on that is knowing where the product comes from can basically also attract from where you want to purchase from. There's a lot of products in the marketplace where it's being presented by British or European manufacturers and it's actually purchased from the likes of China or Korea. So really dig down as to where that comes from. The other key point really, and this is a quick indicator for anybody looking at any devices, CE, very simple. So all products to be in the marketplace in Europe all require a CE mark. The difference in this sector is really you're looking for a medical CE mark. Now the difference being with that is if you look at the two symbols, the medical CE mark has a series of numbers below it, which is reference to the notified body and the certificate number that we have in place for the products. By having a medical CE mark on a product, that means that that product has been proven through the application of a clinical evaluation report to our notified body, that we have basically used LED light to treat a clinical indication, and it has then been proven up through clinical trials and then basically certified by our notified body that the clinical evidence we provided verifies that the product meets the requirements of treating that medical condition. So, for example, acne, psoriasis, musculoskeletal pain, and wound healing. All four of those are medical conditions throughout Europe, of which we cover across the Dermalux products. Don't be lost also between normal CE and Chinese export. I've held a few presentations at events here and now. Maybe it's something we can cover in the next webinar, but really the difference between what CE and Chinese export is. So really dig down into where the product is coming from and whether it's got the right certification. I would always advise that you try to basically buy a product that has the medical certification to go with it. So that basically adds value to your business and you can reliably know that you can treat the correct medical indications. The next point is to do with the quality of the LEDs. So off the back of that, what wavelengths are you emitting? Are the wavelengths on the device actually at the correct target point with the most clinical evidence? Is the power that you're getting from the LEDs correct? So just because basically a manufacturer states one number on a piece of paper doesn't mean that actually that's what's being delivered in practice. Really dig down into what those numbers mean. And what is the device doing during application? So is it being correctly cooled? Basically, is it going to last the lifetime that you're going to need to use the product for? If you intend on buying this product and running it for the next 5 years, make sure that it's going to run for 5 years. Don't get caught out by something that works well for the first 12 months and then fails, and you end up having to buy again and again and again. Really, that kind of comes into my final point of fit for purpose. It's amazing how many products that you can buy that are on the cheaper end of the market. They work for a series of months because they're designed for purpose, and then they start to fail. So mechanical durability, even before you start looking at level of LED and electronics, make sure it's going to work and is fit for purpose in your clinic. Finally, we pride ourselves on the fact that basically we provide very good, and I would say excellent, training and marketing materials. So the moment that you come on board with Dermalux, we provide a full set of marketing materials that you can use to advertise that you're a part of the Dermalux family. And in that, how you can actually try and then advertise the product range and the treatments with, in combination with your other treatments that you offer. how to then try and attract customers through your door, and then also in that about what the product is actually doing. So at skin level, how is the light working? How is the device working? How do you make best use of the device in your clinic? Is it best used to use it on the bed, in the seated position? Our sales team and training team will work with you to ensure that basically you get the maximum benefit from the device. We're also very proud to have an in-house technical support team. So any questions that you have during use of the device, you can actually then call basically into the office and we can try and answer the questions there and then. Anything that's maybe outside of the team's knowledge, they will refer to the extended team and we can get back to yourself. And furthermore, obviously we have the likes of our own medical director who can then answer any sort of in-depth questions. The last point I would make is price. Price is the quickest indicator in any market space. It's really the quality of the product. Our products are the price that they are because basically we put so much time, effort and money into the physical product that's leaving the production line. You can buy a product cheap, but you can buy it twice or 3 times in the time that basically say a Dermalux device would last. Really start to dig down into the numbers and look at, again, fit for purpose. How will you use it in application and what technology you actually get in this product? Is it designed for purpose? Is it designed with the right wavelengths? Are you reliably going to deliver the same treatment over the course of the intended time you're going to use it? And really, what is the business behind supporting it? Are you going to have the technical support? Are you going to have the reliability of that business supporting you if you had any technical issues or product failures or any ongoing skin concerns that you may need answering? We are proud at Dermalux to basically cover off all of those points and know that basically no matter what product you buy from our range, all customers are treated the same and we can provide the same in-depth knowledge and support that you would need throughout your daily concerns. So I believe that covers off most of the questions for today. I think, Louise, it's probably a good time just to do a bit of an overview on our devices and just basically through some of the benefits that we cover.
Yes, thanks, Dale. Yes. So we have obviously many questions that we get on a regular basis, but so we just wanted to touch on the main features to start with. Of course, we've got an award-winning portfolio of LED systems that really meet every business requirement. You know, as you said, Dale, you know, we've got our entry-level Flex MD that we launched a year ago. Very, very popular, but a great device for those who are just starting out with the LED treatment, through to our new or the latest device that we have in the range, the TriWave MD as well, and everything in between. So all the Dermalux systems offer the same 3 clinically proven wavelengths. So as we said, wavelength is the most important parameter for phototherapy. This will make or break the results. But these are delivered via our unique single wavelength LEDs, our proprietary technology, and again, which we said when we're looking for a device, this is really important. So the difference between the systems, with the 4 systems that we have, is the power. So the more power means the more requirement for cooling technology to maintain a stable and energy delivery over time, but also to protect those LEDs from early degeneration, as we said. But we've invested really into that technology to make sure that they deliver a safe, stable treatment, and they have a long lifespan as well. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time today to talk through all the devices in detail, but if you'd like any information on any of our systems, or if you have any further questions, please contact us after this webinar and we can arrange a discussion with you. We do have some exclusive offers on all the Dermalux systems at the moment, so for anyone who's looking to if anyone's looking to either upgrade or replace a current LED device, we do offer a trade-in option too, so please feel free to contact us.
Thank you for tuning in to our first educational webinar. We're now going to tune into some of the live questions that have come through. Okay, so the first question that we've had in, how do we sanitize the devices in line with COVID-19, Louise?
Yeah, so we've had quite a lot of these questions over the last few weeks. We are actually putting together some specific guidelines, which we'll be releasing early next week. So all the devices user guide, and in the user guide it details how to clean the device. They are the cleaning guidelines, but they can all be wiped with alcohol, antibacterial wipes and sprays. If you're going to use a spray or anything onto the LED, around this the LED head, it's just that it's just thoroughly dry before we actually always clean the device when it's on. And being on the outside and wipe over. But a point to note is that if obviously, I know there was a question if somebody coughs or sneezes underneath the LED device, but then there's actually no physical contact on the device because of it's a no-touch treatment, that there is no risk of cross-contamination on that. But I say we're going to be detailing that and sharing that with all the clients early next week. So we had a lot of other questions in. So there's another question, Dale, about somebody that's purchased a mask, and they're saying that the mask is more powerful than the Flex because it's closer to their device is closer to the skin.
Okay, it's an interesting one, this really. So if you follow the standards that are out there in terms of how you measure a device, there are actually standards that all manufacturers should abide to when actually declaring their figures. So in this, the unsaid piece is that marketing material to marketing material is that, say, because the device is on the skin, clearly it's more powerful. It's not the case. It's okay. What you need to assess is what LED is actually in the mask. Just because it's close to the skin doesn't mean that it's more powerful than an LED that's further away from the skin. And then also there are, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, that there is actually a guideline that stipulates what optical power is being emitted from the device. Now, the risk classification that goes with all medical devices, there's effectively risk group 0 through to risk group 3. Depending on the overall optical power that's being emitted from the device will determine which risk group classification the product falls into. Now, a quick indicator, if a mask is a medically approved device, if there's no optical radiation labeling on there, typically it would fall into the lowest category. And by doing so, the rules are you don't have to put a label onto the product. So if the device that you're basically looking at does have a label on there and it declares the overall optical power, quick indicator is clearly the optical power from that device is more so than that of, say, like a potential LED face mask. So definitely take a look at that. The other piece to add on to that is ask the manufacturer for third-party test data. So part of basically having a medical device approved is that you have everything third-party verified. So speak to them, ask for them for the test reports, ask for any comparison charts, and effectively work your way through the results. But if you need any information from ours, we have tested a lot of devices from a third-party test house, so we can share some information for what we do have on other devices versus the product range that we offer.
Okay, so another question that we've had quite a lot of treatment questions and protocol questions. So what is the best protocol for treating pigmentation? So as we know, pigmentation is really, really difficult. A lot of it comes down to the diagnosis. So what is that pigmentation? Is it sun damage? Is it, environmental? Or is it hormonal? Is it post-inflammatory pigmentation? Is it caused by medication? Is it caused by trauma? So the most important thing is to determine what is the cause of that pigmentation, and then that will determine the protocol. So we have two different protocols. One is red and or infrared light if it's something which is environmental, or sun damage, for example, so it's part of an aging process. But if it's caused by like post-inflammatory, if it's medication, then we would just use the red light only. So again, in the protocol manual, there's a protocol manual with all the devices. If you haven't got the latest one or you want, we can reshare that with you. We have got some updates on the protocol reference charts as well. So you can just drop us an email and we can share, make sure you've got the latest, because I appreciate some of you have had the devices for quite a long time. So yeah, we can share those with you. Another question. So like I said, we've had lots. Unfortunately, we won't be able to answer them all today, but we will go through them and make sure that we contact you all individually for the questions. So this is something that has come up quite a bit, sort of around blue light. Obviously, we know that there's a lot of blue light that comes from devices, and and is blue light that comes from devices or smartphones or TVs, is that dangerous?
So really, I think smartphone technology and blue light in general are two different things. So blue light from smartphones, you'll all be familiar with, obviously, like the nighttime mode where you can effectively turn your iPhone orange at night. The idea behind that is that there's a lot of studies that have taken place around actually using blue light for affecting circadian rhythm. So in that, you use blue light to keep ourselves stimulated. If you take a look at some of the Philips reports that are out there, they're actually doing studies in schools where they're using colder white light LED lights in schools and offices to try and keep kids and personnel effectively more alert during the day, and see if it basically helps with the learning pattern. In regards to blue light in our application or our sector, it's a very broad piece is blue, because what is blue? We emit 415, which is actually classified in photonics as violet, but in the market it's known as blue. You've got manufacturers who work around 415, 420, right through to 465. And really you've got from violet to blue to royal blue, even verging on the lines of cyan. Now, blue light can only really be dangerous in long exposure periods, high intensity periods of light being delivered. The whole point of having a device that's medically approved is that effectively it's been clinically proven to be safe for use for the particular application that you're using it for. So as long as the device has got the medical CE marking on it, you can safely assume as the practitioner that your product is qualified for the application you're applying it for. Where it becomes slightly dangerous is where you use a device that hasn't got the medical CE certification with it. And you can't guarantee the width, going back to this piece again with full width half max, how broad the emission is. Now, on a 415, if you have a very broad emission, you can actually find that the short wavelength boundary of 415 emissions actually verges into the UV range. So it starts to drop below 405. And that's really where we tend to find this question coming out. Now, responsibly from our end as a manufacturer, we ensure that basically our short wavelength boundaries do not go into the violet range, into the ultraviolet range. And by doing so, that means that our device is basically proven and clinically proven to be safe to use. So blue isn't blue. Is long and short of it. And if you do want to know anything more on that, I'm more than happy to explain into more detail and send some reports over.
Yeah, it is a question that comes up a lot, but yes. Yeah, I think it's just sort of addressing that. So next question, I've heard we shouldn't apply LED after treatments that create an inflammatory response. So I think, okay, and again, you know, we've seen this a lot along the way, but I think so. A lot of traditional treatments will create an inflammatory response. So they'll use heat, chemicals, mechanical trauma, they'll create some kind of wounding, which of course we want if we want to stimulate the wound healing process to generate collagen, and that's important. But LED, although we think of it as inflammatory, it's actually, so it's more, its medical term is photobiomodulation. So photo meaning light, and we're modulating a biological response in the skin. So modulating just means we're controlling it. So by adding LED, you know, once you've triggered an inflammatory response, we can't stop it. You know, it's not that powerful to stop sort of that mechanism in the body. But what it can do is, because we're using the light energy to energize the cells, essentially, we're speeding that healing process up. So we're working alongside that inflammatory process, yeah, to get fast results and help to minimize any adverse response or secondary response, which may be something like slow healing, post-inflammatory pigmentation, bacterial infection, bruising, for example, as well. So, you know, by using them together, and we've got studies, and we've obviously got sort of independent protocols that back that up as well. So it can be applied with, literally, as we said earlier, LED can be applied in combination with really any other treatment, and it won't affect or the outcome of either treatment. Together they will just give a better result. Another question which just came in about peels, about sort of using LED after peels. We've always said that if the peel isn't neutralized, I know some of them are self-neutralizing and typically they'll neutralize straight away, but if it's a stronger peel that isn't neutralized, we'd just be careful. So just go with caution on applying the LED afterwards, in case, you know, LED can just activate a product or potentially intensify results. So it's better just to wait, either make sure the peel is fully neutralized or wait until it is and then apply the LED sort of later. But yeah, again, it's safe to use in that combination.
I think there's an interesting comment coming actually on the chat from somebody called Cindy. It says, I previously had an LED for far more powerful and way more thousands of pounds, more expensive than Flex. The results from Flex blow it out of the water, especially at the inexpensive price that it is. I think that's a great comment, if I'm honest. One, that probably shows the advancements in LED technology, not just with us, but across the board with other manufacturers, about how technology is always moving forward. But really, for me, the piece I'm reading between the lines there is, it comes down to the quality of the LED. So you could spend tens of thousands on units, and so long as basically you're buying the right device from the right manufacturer, you're going to get the right results. You could end up going down the road with other products where basically they haven't got the tailored solution on the LED, or they haven't got the thermal stability. And in all honesty, that has a really has an adverse effect on the overall treatments that you're going to get. So thank you for sending that in. It's good.
No, it's good to get positive feedback as well. So I think in terms of questions that we can sort of answer now, I appreciate everyone's time. It's beautiful weather outside. I'm sure we all want to go and enjoy the last bit of the sunshine before the rain comes. But yeah, any of the questions that have come through on the chat, we've recorded them all. We've got your details, obviously, because you've registered, so we can come back to you on that. And if there's sort of other questions that we think are valuable for sharing out, then again, we'll get some sort of more sort of wider communication out to answer those. But I think just to say thank you again from all of us here. It's thank you for sharing this. It's exciting, and we've got a lot more of this planned now to move forward and sort of on our education sort of series program. So
that's great. Well, thank you to everybody, and we'll see you all again soon.
Have a nice evening. Enjoy the sunshine.
Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye bye.